Hello, so today, thanks to our amazing ambassador Magdalini, I'm going to talk to you about mastery teaching and mastery mode in Quizalize. Mastery teaching basically means teaching until your students have got the basics right before moving on. So now I'll show you how mastery mode in Quizalize can help you to embed mastery teaching into your learning journeys to ensure that no student is left behind and no student is left bored and unchallenged. Let's go.
So you have a few different options when you're creating or assigning a quiz. One option is to use an existing quiz, for example, Magdalini's quiz here. We can find it by searching and finding resources. Click on here, for example, and then we'd see this screen. Another option is to create your own quiz by going to Create with the AI quiz creator here. What I suggest doing if you want to get the best out of the mastery dashboards is to click on existing skills or standards. So for example, you just choose the drop down here and we can look at the CFR languages framework today. Let's do English and we can choose B2 level. Okay, so these are effectively our learning objectives or skills, as we can see here. So let's choose, for example, this one. I'm going to write here, use a range of question types. So we can stop generating whenever we like, whenever we have enough questions. We might want to add some of them individually, or we might want to add all of the questions that were generated. At that point, you can either save and preview or export and print directly. And we can see here that the quiz here is tagged to our learning objective. This is important if we want to see a breakdown on our mastery dashboard later on. So when we save it, we'll get to the same screen like we saw when we assigned Magdalini's quiz. Another option for us when creating or assigning quizzes is using the classic quiz editor. So if you already have existing questions or ideas for a quiz, you can create your own here. For example, the thing that's important here is to assign our quiz to a standard. So for example, we would assign it to, if we're using this framework, we could assign it here, just like we did with the other quiz when we were making the AI quiz. Okay, so when you add a question, the only other thing you need to be aware of is making sure that you tag your questions to the learning objectives and skills like we did before. So, for example, we would just choose one that's relevant here for each question. This helps us see a much better breakdown on the mastery dashboard. So once we've created our manual quiz, for example, we've added our questions in here and we might add an extra answer explanation. We've tagged it to our curriculum skill, for example, and let's say we've added a couple more questions. And we've tagged it too. Then we will save and give to class. And we will get a similar screen, a very similar screen to the one that we saw after the AI quiz creator and after using Magdalini's quiz. So whenever you've completed your quiz, whichever way you'd like to do it, you should give it to the class, of course. So you assign it to your class up here. So let's assign it to, for example, this class I've got set up. You can add a game onto it if you'd like to, or you can just give it as a classic quiz. You have the option of giving it as homework, an exam, or you can just print it as a PDF. Let's give it to class now just as a classic. And then when you get to this screen, you just need to be sure to tick the right option. So for example, AI generated feedback, we'd like some of that for our students. And this is the most important thing here, classic mastery mode. So if we select this, our students will only be able to finish their quizzes when they get all the answers correct. So it will give them lots of opportunities to go back and review the answers that they didn't get correct. Now, if we also randomize the question order, this helps them to think about the questions and not just memorize the answers in a certain order. We want unlimited attempts and number of questions, or you can change this. So once we've selected all of these, we might add in a finish by the end of the day, and then we can continue. If we'd like to add follow-up activities, we can add these in here. just click on choose your own resource, add them in here, or we can skip this. And then this is an important screen because this is where you assign your quiz to your class. So you can just click on magic class link and just copy the magic class link and send it to your students. And if they just click on that, they'll be able to enter the activity. So once you've sent the link to your students and they start completing it, you will start to see their live results here. And it will show you here who needs help. So you can just click on here, have a look. It shows you by student name who's doing really well, who's almost there, and who needs some help. So that helps you to make really important decisions in your classroom. You can also see exactly what they need help with specifically. So for example, it will show us which question they struggled with and which question they did much better on. Grouped by specific skills here, we can see again which skill they did well in and which skill they need some extra help with. You can download your results in an Excel format if you'd like. This is perhaps really useful for parents' evenings or parental discussions, or when analysing classes across a department. Again, you can assign follow-up tasks here for those students that are doing well and for those students who might need a bit of extra help. So as well as the live results on that dashboard, we can also see an overview of how the class has been doing. So if we go to our class on the left hand side, we can find Math 4A, which is the class we assigned it to, and we just go down to the Mastery dashboard. So if we click on here and then we click into a course that we've assigned, we can see really clearly how our students have been doing, what scores they've been getting, who's completed and mastered a certain topic that we've done. And then we can see who needs a bit more help. For example, Kelsey up here needs a bit more help. We can click into each of these. And then again, we see a breakdown of the skills within that topic. So for example, Tony down here, 80% mastered in this first learning objective here. However, hasn't mastered the second learning objective here. So it might need an extra bit of support there. And again, allows us to make those decisions, have those conversations with our students in our classroom to make sure that they are getting the support that they need and able to progress as well as possible.